Okay, perfect. So we are recording this today, and I just wanted to take a minute to welcome everyone to our Basecamp on using some of the D2L HTML templates. And our presenter today is Colleen, so she's going to be walking us through that process. And while she's presenting, if you do have any questions at all, please feel free to put them in the chat. I'll be monitoring those. And yeah, thanks so much for joining us. And Colleen, I'll let you kind of introduce yourself, and if you need anything, let me know.
All right. So hello, good afternoon, and welcome. My name is Colleen McElroy. I am the lead learning designer here at St. Leo. And today we are going to go over how to use the standard HTML templates within your course. I'm going to share my screen, but I'm going to stop my video while I'm presenting. And we'll get started. So HTML actually stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and those words alone may not provide much meaning, so it may be easier for you to think of HTML as a means to describe the web page content. Conceptually, HTML allows us to annotate documents in order to define the various components within those documents, such as titles, headings, lists, tables, etc. And although the two pictures here may elicit some fear from some of you, I wanted to show you what the back end looks like so that when we go through the templates today, you have a basic understanding of what's being developed. So building content in your course does not actually require you to create HTML files from beginning to end. Instead, we recommend that you utilize the pre-built HTML templates, which are supplied to you. And those templates are a user-friendly way to fill in the scripting that would go inside that yellow box. So each of your course sections and sandboxes are preloaded with HTML templates designed to help non-developers create clean, functional, and professional content pages using the HTML editor. In fact, you can use the HTML editor to create pages or make quick and easy changes without needing to know any prior knowledge of HTML. Once you select your template, you enter your course content using the available controls to apply formatting to your text. And don't feel like you have to write everything down today that I'm saying in this presentation, as detailed instructions are included on the different template pages that you will review during the steps we take to modify the templates, along with this presentation being recorded. So why should you use templates? Templates create a sense of consistency when experiencing your course. This helps your students to focus on the content at hand. A primary reason for placing your course content in the HTML format is that it's accessible. It's easy for students, any student, to use. This is a big advantage and definitely a best practice. The templated pages are fully responsive, where the content adjusts to different devices, which means you can create functional, great-looking, and usable content topic pages using the layouts provided. And as an instructor, you want to create an accessible, user-friendly experience for your course because a friendly technical environment will foster a better learning environment. So here is a list of the template types that are provided to you. So the module introduction page features a prominent banner image across the top and a description area to introduce the module to the student. It also includes a numbered list to identify the module's learning objectives. And at the end of the page, you'll find an importance notes and reminders section. You can use this area to identify what the students need to accomplish in the module and call out any reminders that you find yourself repeating often to your students. The basic page layout is a general purpose layout, and you can use this page to convey textual course content or include any other elements from the other page layouts to arrange your content. The video lecture page is a great way to present video content while accompanying it with supporting text, explanations, and activities. You can use self-made videos or ones that you have permissions to include from the internet, and we will talk more about copyright a little later in the presentation. It can be difficult to replace a video in this template in certain browsers. So if you are comfortable with HTML code, you may want to replace the video link in the HTML source editor. To do this, you'll click the HTML source editor, which are the two brackets circled here, right next to the one with the I and the check mark, and in between that one and the search, which is like a paper and a magnifying glass. So that will actually bring up the HTML code, and you would search and replace the iframe code with the link to your selected video. So that's not, you don't have to replace it that way. It's just if you are having trouble in certain browsers, then you can replace it that way. So one of the templates is called an elements page, and it includes samples of some of the most commonly used page elements that you can copy onto other pages. You can use this page to start with and only keep the elements you want, or you can move these elements between the other pages, such as the video page or the basic page that we've already looked at. So some of the most commonly used page elements that are on this page are an ordered list with large numbers, block quotes, call-out boxes, table, and 2 panels with equal height. You can copy one or more of any of these elements and paste them on the other pages and then add your own content. The image HTML template also illustrates 3 different ways that you can display images. The first one is the full width. You also have an image that's aligned to the left and an option for an image aligned to the right. You'll notice that the images have a place to add a caption. Use this to add a description or a citation to your images. You can also copy one or more of these image layouts and paste them on the other pages, just like you could with the elements. To copy an image layout onto another page, you're going to select everything between the start copy and the end copy, and then paste it into the HTML editor on the page that you want the image to display. So if I wanted this image on my basic page, I would highlight starting at the start copy all the way through the picture and the text on the image on the left, text on the right, all the way down to ends copy, and then take that to another page and paste it there. Directions are included on this template that walk you through all of those steps. So let's talk a little bit about graphics. Besides the image template page, many of the other templates do provide placeholders for graphics. So here are some tips for using graphics in your course. 1, avoid clip art. It makes your course seem dated. And if you are working directly with learning design to create your course, or if you're not working directly with learning design to create your course, you can use free sites like Pixabay or Pexels or unsplash.com. Those sites offer attribution-free images that can be included in your pages. However, if you're using any other site, you may need to provide attribution for any graphics you use. It's always good practice to include an attribution. This sets a good model for your students and will protect you from copyright violations. Try to avoid using graphics that don't have an instructional purpose. Research shows that decorative graphics actually can have a detrimental effect on the student learning due to extraneous cognitive load. So make sure that any picture or graphic that you do include is serving a good purpose. And you must provide alternative text for all images. This ensures that students using screen readers will get the content and purpose of the image. And as a general reminder, you cannot paste tables directly as images into your pages. This is an accessibility issue and will cause a liability for students with disabilities. There is a table example on the Elements template page that you can use to create your table, to actually create the table into the course. And you want to actually use to create a table and not just add the lines, so that all of the ADA elements are there so that screen readers can read the table correctly. Another element that you can use to chunk or display content is accordions. And this is a template that is included. This is especially useful when you need to present more detail about a list of items that are closely associated. And I think there is a sample of a single accordion, a group of 2, a group of 3, and a group of 4. Another element that allows you to elaborate on associated ideas or topics are tabs. So there is a tab HTML template in there, and tabs are especially effective when the information presented in the first tab is building among the remaining tabs. And there are a tab group of 2, 3, and 4. So you're also provided with a HTML template of a reading page, and a reading page organizes and provides a place to identify readings for your course or modules. Be sure to identify any items students may need to access, such as a textbook, chapters or pages, websites, articles, or St. Leo library resources. So when you're looking at using the reading page is not just a list of what the students should read, but identifies readings for your students and takes them through the readings. So let's look at a few best practices to follow. So if you're asking students to read chapters or pages from a textbook, help them to focus on the material with guided questions or reflection. When you send students to a website, make sure to tell them where to go and what they should do when they get there. Often you might provide articles found on the internet that you'd like your students to read. Be sure to directly link to the article, because depending on the type of course and the copyrights on the article, you may not always be able to download the article directly and upload it directly into your course. For articles, be sure to introduce the article and provide student focus and reflection so that they can get the most out of reading. And if you are linking to the St. Leo Library, be sure to include the permalink rather than the link from the search that you performed, and let the students know that they may have to re-enter their credentials. And just a tip, when you are using external resources, it's always easier to find a good alternative when you are first searching for the resource you're looking for. So that way, if the link is no longer available, you don't have to hunt one down in the middle of your class. So as you're adding those items to either the reading pages or any of your other HTML pages, try to keep a running list of alternates for you that you can maybe upload into your instructor resource section of your course. So the last template that we're going to briefly go over is the conclusion page, and it can be used to summarize the module or an activity, or you can use the layout for any other content that you feel fits this format. So how do you locate these templates? You actually start out on your course homepage and select the content link from the navigation bar. Then once you are in the table of contents, you select the module from within the table of contents and click on the blue New button. and then select Create a File option from the drop-down menu. This will create the new HTML file within your course. So first, you're going to give your new topic file a name, and then click on Browse for a Template. Click on the Browse for a Template button just to the right of the name field. And then select a template from the drop-down menu. And then you'll see a preview of the loaded templates in the HTML. You're going to give your HTML template, or you'll now see your HTML file populate in the editor, and then you can populate the template with your content that you have prepared, and then click Save and Close. Any page that you make going through this process will be located at the bottom of your module. If you don't have anything in your module, it will be the first thing there, but once you create the second or third, it will always default to the bottom. So you can use the 6 or 8 dots next to the title, and you can drag it into the order that you want the students to go through your content pages. Then once you have your pages in order, you're going to click on Bulk Edit. This will allow you to add a description that explains what the content item is. And then you'll click Done Editing. Be sure when creating your course that you choose a naming convention for your content pages and stick with it throughout the course. So if you type in your header level in all caps in Module 1, then the titles in the rest of the modules should be in all caps as well. Try to use the same template for similar items between modules or throughout your course. This consistency helps students to recognize content types and prepare for what is to come. Chunking content is important in any learning environment. It allows your students to engage with the information in smaller, meaningful sections. We don't want to cognitively overwhelm or overload the students. As you design your course, carefully consider the best way to chunk the material. And then make sure to include directions and guidance. So we talked a little bit about adding the description in just a few minutes ago. And oftentimes when you are creating pages, you know exactly what you're looking for and what you want the students to do. But try to be extra thorough with your instructions to ensure that they're both clear and complete for the students who won't have all of the background information that you did. So let's just talk a little bit about content. When you're creating content, you shouldn't delete any of the provided content that is already in your course section, but you can add content to augment the classroom or online experience. So if you have struggling students, maybe you want to add remedial material. If you have excelling students, you can look at adding a challenge material. And if you are trying to engage your students, add material to keep the motivation going. So when you're creating content, it is actually a good practice to write the content in a document such as Microsoft Word. This allows you to arrange your content in order and visually identify elements that you might need on a page. It also allows you to spot spelling and grammar errors early on. When you are pasting from a Word document into the HTML editor, some of the document's text styling is going to copy over. So this is going to clash with the styles that are already in your templates. So when you are pasting from your Word document into the HTML editor, you need to use the buttons Control, Shift, and V at the same time to paste copied text as unformatted text in the HTML editor. You can also right-click with your mouse and a drop-down menu will come up and you can paste as unformatted text. So copyright. Factors related to fair use should be examined to determine whether the items you wish to use require clearance. Some items, such as materials produced by the government or items that have passed out of copyright protection, are available to use without going through the formal clearance process. There are also individuals and organizations that create useful materials and clearly indicate that those materials can be used for educational purposes. But some publishers do not permit their publications to be placed in the electronic environment in your course, and others stipulate that items may be used if the site is protected in some manner, which your course will be because the students have to log in. But just because you are using a content item in your on-ground class does not automatically mean you can post the content online. So you always need to identify terms of use, ask for permission, and attribute your content that is not created by you to ensure the content is used appropriately. And there is a copyright training coming up and as a CTLE Basecamp later on in March. Another item that you need to be conscious of when you're developing your pages in your online course is ADA. So when you're adding content to your pages, it's especially important to pay attention to the heading structure. Proper heading structure is especially important for learners with disabilities, as assistive technologies such as screen readers rely on these headings for navigation. But the headers actually do double duty. They add formatting and they provide an index for screen readers. So with headers, visually impaired people do not have to start at the top and read through all of the text every time they want to get to something to access on that page. They can move through it easier. And the HTML editor actually provides format options for 6 different heading levels. Many of those you will see displayed in the templates. If you want to create a heading, an additional heading that is not displayed on the page, then you can use the drop-down tool here that says paragraph, and then there you will have the 6 different heading options. However, you can't skip heading levels. So each page must have a heading 1, and you can't use heading 2 until you have heading 1. And so you can't use 3 until you've used heading 2. And you can use them. You can use a heading, you can have heading 1 and then you can have heading 2 and you can use heading 3 and you can use heading 2 again, but you can't use heading 4 unless you've used heading 3. Oh, sorry. So the alt tags, every picture that gets included into your HTML has to have an alt tag if it is not used as a decorative image. If it is used as a decorative image, when you place the item in the course, it will ask you, and you have to check off the box that says this item is decorative. Otherwise, you have to add an alt tag. And then before you publish your page and save and close it, you'll notice that there's an accessibility checker that I've highlighted. That's the I with that check mark. So make sure that you run that accessibility checker before you save your page, and it will identify any missing ADA elements, including the alt tags and the skipped heading levels that we discussed. So let's talk about a couple common mistakes. Not planning out your content. So planning out your content allows you to identify how everything is going to be set up. When you go to move the items, you'll be able to paste them in their appropriate place on the template, and then have the page be visually set up for the student. If you paste and you notice your font size is different, then that is probably because you didn't paste, you pasted formatted text with and didn't use Control-Shift-V. Because remember, when you move elements onto the template from your Word document, it is going to take some of that code inside the Word document. So copying partially when using your page elements. Remember, when you want to use one element from one page to another, you have to copy from the start copy to the end copy to ensure proper formatting and display. Giving the same title to more than one page. If you try to give your pages the exact same name, so let's say I tried to name 2 pages introduction instead of module 1 introduction, module 2 introduction, it is going to ask you, it's going to tell you that it's already there, and it's going to try and replace the file. So each page needs to have a unique name. And then not proofreading. So there is a spell checker that you can use that will identify the spelling errors in red font. And we recommend that you use that spelling checker. You can also, if you have the Grammarly add-on to your browser, it will identify misspellings and grammar issues that you can also fix. But if you don't have that turned on, use the spell checker that's provided in the HTML editor. And very important, once you have selected a template for your page and entered your content, don't replace the template on that page. So this is why planning it out is important. Because if you've set it up and then you say, oh, I didn't want to use this page, I really wanted to use this other page, it doesn't keep your text and replace it with the new formatting. It gives you the whole plain page again, the standard page, and everything that you have just entered will be lost. So you're going to get a message and it says, are you sure you want to replace this page? And if you get that, you hit cancel. That is never what you want to do, because I promise you will be redoing that page again, which I have done. So this is user experience here is letting you know that is not what you want to do. So just a reminder that if you get in any time, this doesn't just apply for HTML, which you can certainly reach out to CTLE or anybody. If you have an issue with your course, there is a request help with course button. And if you click that, it brings up a form, a form that you fill out. It includes your email and the course that it's in, and you can submit that, and someone will reach back out if you have, but this doesn't just apply to HTML, but if you have a problem there too, you can fill that out. So let's try it. So everyone, I think, who had registered has a sandbox within D2L. So let's try out using the templates by opening your sandbox.
Just in case there's anyone on the call who's not familiar with using sandboxes, I did double check this morning, and everyone who is here has a sandbox. And if you can't find it in D2L, you'll just go to your search waffle at the top of D2L and type in your name, and it should pull up your sandbox. So if anybody has trouble accessing there, so just feel free to put it in the chat, and I'll send you the direct link to your own sandbox.
Just to check, you guys can still see my screen, correct? Yes, okay. All right, so I have my sandbox open. And I'm going to select my top module, which is just called ABC123. Now, in your sandbox, maybe you want to arrange your HTML pages by the courses they are going to correspond with. So you can give your module any name it would like. But if you need to add a module, if you scroll down to the bottom, depending on how many modules you have in your sandbox, you just add it. And if you want to drag it up to the beginning, you just move it by dragging those buttons around. But if everyone goes into their sandbox, and you'll see the blue new button, and you can click that, and you're going to create a file. We click that, and it should bring up this blank page. So what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to select the basic page HTML layout. And you'll notice on the right side of my screen, I have my Word document with my information that I plan on pasting. So if I was just to remind you to give this the title of just introduction and hit save and close when I finish, it's going to tell me that I already have a file. And if I overwrite the existing file, then I will lose whatever I had. So it's always better to give your file a unique name. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight text on my Word document. I'm going to copy it using Control-C. I'm going to highlight the text where I want my text to go, and I am going to use either Control-Shift-V, or I can right-click and paste this plain text, and it reminds you that's Control-Shift-V. And it goes, and you'll notice. Now, if I decide that I don't want this sentence, the way I've designed my page, I don't need this sentence, I can highlight it and delete it. So just because there are elements on the page doesn't mean you have to actually keep them. And I can do that. And I kind of set up my Word document so that I would have the different headings and I would know where they needed to go. So if you take a few minutes in your sandbox to either you can paste any text you have, maybe just open a Word document, type a couple of sentences in and type some in, and then when you're done, give me a thumbs up so I know that everyone's had a chance to try it out and move along. Or if you're not going to do it because you're going to do it later, you can give me a thumbs up so I know I don't have to wait on.
Yeah, I've already been practicing, so I have a completed page.
Okay. Does anybody else want any more time to test anything out? No requests? All right. Well then, once you were done, once you pasted everything in, you would click Save and Close. It's going to show you the page that you created. And then once you go back to the module, it will appear right there. And that is using the HTML templates. Any questions?
I have a question.
Okay.
So you mentioned we could take elements we like from the different templates, and if we copy them correctly, we can paste them into like our own new kind of template.
Yes.
Once we have that built out, and we love that, and can we save that as a new, like our template somehow?
So it won't show up in their drop-down menu, but what I would recommend is that, let's say you sorry, sometimes my computer lags a little bit. I would just call it introduction template, right? And then what you can do is go back to this edit HTML source editor, right? You open it. You actually don't have to do anything with it except highlight everything, which is Control A, or you can put your cursor at the top and go all the way to the bottom. I find Control A just is easier because I don't miss anything. Then you copy it. You can hit Control C, or you can right click and hit copy. It reminds you that it's Control C, and just hit cancel, right? And then we'll save and close this one since I renamed the title. And then let's say I wanted it in another course or another page. If I go back to my module, I'll just put it in another module here. Let's say I wanted it to go to another module here. I just go to where I wanted it, hit new, create a file. I'm going to go back to the HTML editor. Now here you can highlight everything. You're going to make it empty, so it's a blank box, and then paste in what you have. And then you could give it your new name. And then you would save and close. And then you could edit this. Like if you made the template and you said this was the title, or this was heading 1, and this was heading 2, or the catchphrase, you know, however, whatever you want, if you made your page into a template, so you wanted to use that same thing, but you identified the elements, you can do it that way. And then you would have your template, and you would be able to save and close it. If you wanted to share it, you can always, so I do this a lot when I don't want to lose my HTML. You can paste all of your HTML in a Word document, you know, if you were moving between courses. And that way, when I wanted to do that same thing, instead of, you have your HTML, then you may save this as like introduction HTML. You could do the same thing. You hit Control A, I copy the whole thing. And wherever I want to go into a new course or a new, you can also use Notepad if you don't want to paste it in Word. And then wherever you want to go and do your next thing, you just hit, you'll always hit new, create a file, and go back to that HTML editor. You don't need anything. And the reason why you can do it in Word with the HTML is because when you paste here, it doesn't bring over any of the word formatting, because you're not technically pasting Word there, you're pasting the code. So you're not pasting actual formatting content. So that's why you can save it in Word or Notepad. We use Notepad++, and that can save your HTML file, or coding, but it will bring Like if you made your templates and you wanted to reuse the same type, you could do it that way.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Doesn't look like there's any other questions. Okay. Well, thank you for letting me come today.
Thank you so much, Colleen. Thank you.
Before you head out, we have a survey that we would like for you to complete. The link is in the chat. Thank you so much, Colleen. The survey shouldn't take you too long. It's maybe about 8 questions tops, but like I said, it won't take you too long. Just if you don't mind completing that for us, we would appreciate it.
Okie dokie.